Only eating weird fast food hacks for a full day. For breakfast, I went to Dunkin' for some munchkins and then to Popeyes for some chicken nuggets, and then you cut the munchkin in half, you add the nuggets and some Popeyes blackened ranch because it's the best Popeyes sauce, AV, and boom, it's a munchkin chicken slider. It's sweet and salty and crispy and creamy. It's so good. I tried it with a blueberry munchkin, which is even sweeter, but the sugary glaze goes so well with the fried chicken, and I thought maybe the chocolate donut with the sweet heat. I don't know, sometimes chocolate is good spicy, but it was so weird. It was kind of gross at first, but then it kind of grew on me. I feel like maybe it'd be better with sriracha, and then this is a hack that one of y'all sent me. So you start with the Baja Blast from Taco Bell, and then I went to not one, not two, but 3 McDonald's to find an ice cream machine that works. So you guys, it's a Baja Blast ice cream float, and like the tangy fruitiness of the soda created this really unique flavor combo. It's nothing like a root beer float, but if you like Baja Blast, I think it's good. It's like weirdly refreshing. And I think I saw this hack on the Mythical Kitchen podcast, but you take 2 Crunchwrap Supremes, 2 McDonald's burgers, and then you use the Crunchwraps as buns. It's kind of glorious and kind of terrifying, but I added Diablo sauce, which really helped. Like the spiciness is much needed to cut through that rich, meaty cheesiness. So many flavors and textures. It's so rich, but also the crunchy lettuce and tomatoes add some freshness, and like the crispy bacon, like, I don't know, it's good. And finally, I heard you can order as many patties as you want on a Wendy's burger, so I got 5 patties, 5 pieces of cheese, and 10 pieces of bacon, and it's basically just like a giant cheesy bacon meat square. It's an overwhelming amount of meat. Like, I wouldn't recommend it, but maybe you could try it once just before you die to say you did. And that's all for today. Only eating Haitian food for a full day. So I went to my local Haitian spot and I got a bunch of fritters. These ones are made from plantains and they're so crispy and fluffy and they have that perfect deep fried richness. They also gave me these fried dough fritters. I don't know what the creamy kind of ranch sauce was called, but it was so tangy. And then I also got these gorgeous shiny pieces of pork that are marinated and then braised and then fried. So flavorful, kind of citrusy, and with the spicy crunchy pickles and the fried plantains, like so many flavors and textures. And y'all, I ordered so much takeout because everything sounded so good. So I got this thick soursop smoothie. If you haven't tried soursop, you have to. It's like sugary sweet, but also kind of tangy and sour and like also creamy and smooth. I also got this stewed goat that literally fell off the bone, like perfectly cooked, so tender and juicy. And if you add some spicy sauce, it's like a flavor explosion. And this giant pastry is called pate code, and it was filled with this like super flavorful sausage and eggs and this really smoky herring and chicken and cabbage. It was intense. And then you dip the crust in the hot sauce and oh, it's so delicious. So buttery. And then I poured the goat stew on the rice and beans and it adds this like salty, savory flavor. And then you just combine all the different dishes and it's like a symphony of flavors, rich and meaty and savory and spicy. And finally, I tried this sweet potato pudding, which had these sugary raisins, so many spices too. It was like Thanksgiving-y, Christmassy vibes and so comforting and sweet. And that's all for today. Only eating at Dairy Queen for a full day. You gotta start with the blizzard. So I got the Royal Ultimate Choco Brownie Blizzard and I added peanut butter cups because of course, and it's filled with so much rich, gooey fudge. And it had crunchy chocolate chunks and soft, chewy brownie bites, and the peanut butter added so much flavor. It's literally perfection. And just look at this double bacon ranch stack burger. Oh my God. It had ranch and honey barbecue sauce. It was so much sauce. The patties were actually super juicy and the onion rings were crunchy and the bacon was crispy. And I didn't know they have cheese curds. They weren't quite as creamy or like rich as Culver's, but they were super crispy and squeaky and way better with the ranch in my opinion. And then later I got some takeout. These pretzel sticks came with zesty queso. I don't know if that meant spicy, but like it definitely wasn't spicy, so I'm not quite sure. The pretzels were really soft though and super salty. Then I got the honey barbecue chicken strips and the cashier said to ask for gravy to dip it in, but it was kind of fire, like the thick savory gravy with the chicken that still had a little crunch. And then I wanted to make sliders with the toast, but the fries were like so underdone. They weren't very salty. They were just kind of sad, but the buttery toast was actually pretty good. And I saw on TikTok, if you ask for a dipped cone in a cup, you get way more of that like crunchy topping because they just pour it on. I got the churro topping and it was fire, cinnamony, so sugary and so creamy. And that's all for today. Only eating Studio Ghibli food for a full day. You already know I had to make Ponyo's famous ramen. It only takes 3 minutes and no peeking. And I didn't know if you boil eggs in really shallow water, you get that perfect runny yolk. And I got some yummy, thick, fatty ham. And then you put your runny egg on top and some green onions. And it's so cute. It's ham. ham. I don't know why I don't put meat in my ramen all the time. It's so good. It's so warm and savory, and there's something so comforting about just like shoving noodles in your mouth, like salty and springy, and the egg was perfect. So soft, and the ham added so much flavor, and the crunchy onions, it's just so good. And I forgot about that giant stack of ham sandwiches that Ponyo gives that lady on the boat. I think it's just cheese, ham, tomatoes, and lettuce on white bread, and then you just like stack all 3 sandwiches on top of each other. And again, there's something so comforting and simple about a ham sandwich. Like the bread is soft and sweet, the tomato is juicy, the lettuce is crunchy, and if you're really doing it right, you just eat the ham out of each sandwich like Ponyo. And then I had to make Sasuke's mom's honey milk, and I saw a recipe where someone said to add vanilla and also cinnamon, of course, and it's so sweet, and the vanilla really adds a lot of flavor, and the cinnamon makes it taste like Christmas. And finally, there's that one scene where Ponyo's dad tries to feed her olives, and she hates them, but I love olives. They're so salty and juicy, and that's all for today. What I eat in a day when I don't have to film anything and I can just eat whatever I want. I have been craving a giant Chipotle bowl with so much guac and sour cream, and you gotta get the hot salsa on the side because it is so spicy, and the honey vinaigrette is like tangy and so sweet, and it's so rich. Like it feels really indulgent somehow, and I always feel so full afterwards, which is perfect because I hit the gym. And then later Chris and I went to our neighborhood Mexican spot, and I got this giant bev. It was beautiful and literally the size of my head. And you already know we got birria tacos, the melty cheese and crispy tortilla, and salty, savory, spicy consomme. It is perfection. I could eat these every single day and not get tired of them. Like the birria is just so tender. It's so good. And I'm obsessed with taquitos, and they pile them up with like cheese and salad, and they're these perfect crispy little fried meat tubes. Yum. And you guys, the Cheesecake Factory sent me an entire cheesecake. So it's their new cookie dough flavor with chocolate chip pecan cookie dough and cookie dough frosting on top. Oh my God, it's so sweet, but it's so freaking creamy, and the pecans add the perfect crunch, and the crust is always so buttery. Don't worry, the Oreo Dream Extreme is still my favorite flavor. It's perfection, but this one was really good too. And that's all for today. Everything I ate my first time at Buc-ee's. This is a gas station with a whole barbecue station with freshly smoked brisket and tacos and burritos. And I got this 3-meat sandwich with turkey, sausage, and so much brisket. It definitely feels like a sloppy Joe, like just so much meat, but I added jalapenos, which really helped. It added some freshness and crunch, and the spice helps cut through all of that meat. Speaking of meat, they sell giant sausages wrapped in tortillas, and honestly, the sausage was a little dry, but it did have a nice snap and a great smoky flavor, but the tortilla just kind of made it even drier. And they had a bunch of different tacos and burritos, so I got a Philly cheesesteak one that, of course, had so much meat and peppers, and the meat was really, really tender, but again, it was just kind of dry, like it needed more cheese or sauce or something. The fried chicken sandwich kind of surprised me, though. It was actually like really moist and tender. It wasn't super crispy, but the glazed pecans were perfection. They were so sugary sweet and warm and crunchy. And they had all these kolaches, which are so soft and fluffy, and this one had strawberry jam and cream cheese that was smooth and fruity, and yeah, so soft. And these are kind of like gourmet cheese puffs, but they might have been my favorite thing all day. They were actually spicy and so puffy and so cheesy. And then I got this huge sample box of fudge because, of course, I think this was like a caramel praline one. That was my favorite. And then the Snickers one had these like crunchy peanuts. And the key lime one tasted exactly like key lime pie, really tangy, kind of sour. And then they also had like a blueberry one that was really soft, and so many flavors. And that's all for today. Everything I ate on a 20-hour road trip. You guys, today we moved from Florida to New York City, and we had to stop at all the touristy traps along the way. First up was Peach World in Georgia, which has peach flavored everything like taffy and fudge, and soft serve, which was really peachy, of course, but also really creamy and smooth, like actual ice cream, you know, not like a sorbet. I also got this cinnamon pecan loaf that was kind of giving monkey bread, like pull-apart vibes, and dark chocolate pecan honey butter that was thick and so sweet, a little cinnamony and like nutty, like kind of feels like fall and apple cider. And then we ate our way through Buc-ee's. I showed y'all that yesterday. And then I had to get a hot dog in DC because I feel like eating a Nathan's hot dog in front of the Lincoln Memorial is like the most American thing ever, but it was kind of fire. It was really juicy, and I had a really good snap, and it was like thick, you know? And then we drove by Philly, so I had to stop for a cheesesteak. This one had this like super spicy, tangy buffalo sauce and this really creamy ranch, and the steak is so tender. But the bread was incredible. It was like perfectly soft with a crispy outside and a great chew factor. We also tried a straight up cheesesteak with just provolone, and again, the bread is just unmatched, and they piled on the meat. It's so savory. And then after so many hours in the car, we finally made it to our new apartment in New York City. And that's all for today. Eating at all of my favorite restaurants before I move across the country. So I'm moving 1,000 miles away from home tomorrow, and I had to get one last drunken noodles from my favorite restaurant because the noodles are so thick and savory sweet. And the shrimp is so tender, and there's these like big chunks of soft, rich eggs and crunchy bean sprouts, and I'm gonna miss it so much. And I literally come here just for the chili oil on these wontons. Like, it rivals some of the chili oil I had in China. It's got this warm sesame flavor and the perfect amount of heat. And I dream about these fries. They have this crispy Spam and crunchy kimchi and so much queso and spicy mayo and jalapenos. It's like so many flavors and textures. And Chris and I had to go to our favorite date night spot one last time for the best garlic bread in the world. You dip it in the Italian dressing and it's so fluffy. It soaks it all up, and then it's tangy and salty and so buttery and garlicky. And I know it's the most Americanized Italian food ever, but this tortellini carbonara has so much bacon, and the chicken has this perfect char, and it's just like the cheesiest, creamiest, most indulgent thing ever. And finally, I don't know if this is really a favorite food of mine, but I would eat this like once a week in college at least, these Zinger Mountain Melts. So it's these crispy, spicy tenders that are piled with cheese and bacon, and you dunk it in this thick, tangy, creamy ranch, and it just reminds me of like college football and late night drinks with friends, and I'm gonna miss everyone so much, and yeah, I'm kind of sad, but really excited, and that's all for today. Only eating New Orleans food for a full day. I've never tried fried oysters before, but they are so good. They're fried to perfection, like really delicately crispy, not oily at all, and amazing with the tartar sauce. But I know this cocktail sauce is made in-house because it's the best cocktail sauce I've ever had. And the potato salad was the creamiest potato salad of my life. Like, what? It just melted in my mouth, but it still had a little crunch, and this gumbo was incredible. Oh my God, I was in heaven. These tender, yummy little shrimps and super flavorful sausage, and it was spicy too, and so hearty and so comforting. And the only thing I didn't like were the beignets because they were pretty dry. They'd be perfect with like a chocolate dipping sauce though. And we drove to another spot for dinner where they had shrimp po' boys, and this was some of the best shrimp of my life. Like, it was seasoned so well, perfectly crispy, and it had these crunchy pickles, and the bread was so soft. And look at these massive battered fries. Again, so well seasoned, really salty, and y'all, this food today had me feeling some type of way because do you see this jambalaya pasta? It was delicious. So much spicy, savory sausage and shrimp, and the flavors are just like unreal. Like, BRB, booking a trip to New Orleans right now. And that's all for today. Everything I ate my first day living in New York City. Once the movers left, we had to go get pizza, of course, and this place gives you chili oil. Like, this is what my dreams are made of. It had sweet Italian sausage, and the crust was kind of a cross between Italian and New York style, like still crispy, but a little floppy and chewy, and the chili oil was so spicy. And my mom is obsessed with Brussels sprouts, so she got this one, but it had so much smoked pancetta, and it was really garlicky, and the burnt little bubbles are my favorite part. And then we had to go to Ellen's Stardust Diner because my mom is obsessed with this place. All the waiters are Broadway performers, and they are incredible, and honestly the food isn't that bad. They have breakfast all day, so I got stuffed French toast that had mascarpone cream and this like really vanilla-y cream and salted caramel. It was definitely a sugar overload, but I'm not mad about it. And I tried Chris's cornflake crusted chicken sandwich with this massive piece of chicken. It was so crunchy, and it had hot sauce and pepper jack cheese, so it was like spicy and salty, and the chicken was pretty moist. And the waffle fries were actually so crispy. And then my dad rode the subway for the first time. He is so cute, I can't. And then my parents had to drive home, and look at how chill and fine I am. Like, I'm so fine. And then we had to get some bevs to celebrate our first full day in the city, and that's all for today.